Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Branding Basics. Celebrate yourself. Hope you're all having a great day. Glad that you're here. Let me just move ahead here and say that I would like to welcome you. My name is Nancy Quinn, and I am a career services advisor and a workshop facilitator here at Mass Higher Metro North. And Mass Higher Metro North is actually Cambridge, Chelsea, and Woburn. The three centers together make up Metro North, so that's why we keep saying that. So, my name's Nancy. I've worked in career services for over 15 years. I say over 15 years because you don't want to talk about more than 15 years when you're over 40 years old. We have different workshops on ageism, resumes with ageism, and different kinds of topics that discuss that. But one thing I want you to remember, if you are over 40, your resume should not go back any further than 15 years, period. Unless you work somewhere for 25 years. But that's another story. That's a different class. I'm not going to get into that. But you only reference 15 years generally in your career for everyone at the most. Want to let you know that cover letter is next week. Actually, cover letter is this Friday, to be honest. It's this Friday at 10 o'clock. So write that down if you're interested in finding out more about cover letter workshop. My passion is here with Mass Hire. I love working with adults. I've tried the other, and I'm much more successful with adults. And I really appreciate you being here. I enjoy what I do. I think you can tell that. I've been in your shoes. I understand what you're going through. I was in the travel agency industry when I was right out of college. And I was in the travel agency industry for, let's say, 15 years. And then along came computers, and it took away my job. So I would get laid off from one travel agency that closed because they were no longer necessary, and I would join one that was still alive. And then that one would close, and I would join another one that was still alive because I couldn't let go. So it says over here, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. And that's what happened to me. I've been in your shoes. I got laid off 4 times. Then I had to do a career change. So if you're in here and you have to do a career change, it's not easy. It's something that's very intense, but it can be done. And I want you to know that I've done it. So if I can do it, you can do it. I found something I love to do just as much as I did the travel industry, which I never thought could. So it's pretty exciting to find something else. So I understand what you're going through. I understand unemployment. I understand what it's like not to know what's happening next. What I'm going to do today is give you a lot of information that you can utilize to take some control over your job search. I think that's the feeling that I had most often was I had no control over what was going on, but I did. So if you take the information that I talk about today, you take some good notes. When we're finished today, what I'll do is I will email you the presentation so you'll have the presentation, but I would take notes as well. And if you work with this material, it's going to make your job search better and easier. You'll understand what's going on behind the scenes. Just like that 15-year tip. I've got a lot of tips today about things that are going on that you need to know trend-wise as far as career search is concerned. Okay. Now let's communicate. To communicate, what I'd like you to do is take a look at your laptop if you've never been in a workshop like this before, and there's always somebody new, to be honest with you. Take a look at your screen. You'll see there's a chat button, and you click on the little chat button, and then you can go and you can put in the chat whatever you want to say. Next to that is a Q&A button, but I prefer if you can that you use the chat whenever you can. When we're finished later on, I'll let you know that we're all done and it's time to exit the presentation, and that's when you will actually click on that red button with the X. So hold on, don't do that right now. It's too early. It's coming up. Now, if you're on a laptop or a desktop and you want to activate closed captioning, just click on CC, and then you can read the transcript. And if you want to change to a different language, you can also go to that same button, that CC button, and you can change for translation if you'd like to. So that makes it easy if you need those things. Now, if you're coming in by a mobile device or a telephone, let me ask you one thing first. If you come in by telephone, what I'd like you to do is to put your name and your job seeker ID in the chat or the Q&A, whichever one you have access to, just so I'm sure that we get your name. It's only for people on the telephone. All the computers talk to each other, but it's the phones that don't always necessarily come through with your name. Sometimes it comes through with just your phone number and just part of your phone number, so I can't find you to give you credit. So it's just phone number, folks. Put your name and your job seeker ID in the chat or in the Q&A, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so our goals for today. We've got a few. Know the value of a personal brand. Everyone out there has one. You might think, but I haven't started mine. I'm just taking this workshop and it's time. Well, you've got a brand already. We, each one of us, are all over the internet. If you take a look at your name, if you Google your name, and I strongly suggest this afternoon you Google your name, see what comes up. You will be amazed. So know the value of a personal brand. Realize that what people are going to do is if you get into the hands of a manager and your resume is in front of a recruiter or a manager, the first thing they're going to do, they're going to Google you. So make sure that what they see is accurate. There are companies out there that will fix online errors. I don't really sponsor any one of those because we're not supposed to do that, to be honest with you, but they're out there. But what I want you to know is that you're building a brand. You're building a brand. What makes you unique? And what makes you unique are the things that you've achieved in your career so far. Problems, action, and results. And we're going to talk about that. If you have a common name, someone said, what if you have a common name? Use your middle initial and the town that you live in. I put my name in and I put in Mass Higher Metro North, and then I come up because I'm online with that. Sometimes I put in my name and my city and it comes up. Sometimes you got to hunt yourself down. And that's why you got to be careful, because if you have a common name, people are looking you up and they're not sure they have the right person. You want to be sure that they find you. So make sure that everything online is clean. Why is social media so important? Well, I've just been speaking to that for the past few moments. And there's something else called a resume page that we're going to talk about briefly. I'm going to give you some resources. You can build your own resume page. It's kind of like LinkedIn, but it's just one page, literally, with your resume and all of your accomplishments on it. So we're going to get to that as well. So as we go along, if you have questions, put them in the chat. And if you have comments, put them in the chat. If things you want to share, please put them in the chat. Let me just say, this is our brand. This is Mass Higher Metro North. Everything that we do, we brand with green and blue and gold. Those are our colors. This is our logo. It goes on all of the materials that we work with, so that eventually people will start looking at this and say, oh, that's Mass Higher. And you get used to it, and it's who we become to you. Your brand is very, very important. Which brand is this on the left-hand side? This is an easy one. Put it in the chat if you would, please. Who is that on the left? Our favorite people on the left. United Parcel Service. Exactly. UPS. Exactly. UPS. Now, you know those brown trucks. You see them, you hear them. You see the people that get out of the brown trucks. They're dressed in brown outfits. And usually they bring you brown packages. But realistically, they have a brand that you know. You don't have to be told who they are. You don't have to question, what is this service? What's the one on the right? What is that swoosh for? Nike, exactly. It's their brand. That's what they're known for. How about on the left of this page? What brand is that? Right. Thank you. Domino's. Domino's is on the right. Very distinctive brand for that particular. And on the right-hand side, we have who? Who do we have on the right-hand side? Apple. Exactly. So you can see how brands are used everywhere. You have a brand just the same as these 4 companies have a brand. These companies are online. They have online presences. How do you say that? Plural. And that's what they're all about. You know them because of their brand. People are going to know you because of your brand, because people are going to look you up on the internet to figure out what your brand is. What you need to do is control your brand. So what makes a brand? You want to be a Superman like this guy? What makes a brand is what you're great at. You have to sit down and you have to think before you get started on your job search. What am I great at? What do I love to do? What am I skilled at? You need to make a list of what it is you're great at. Then you need to be really comfortable and confident talking about and realizing what you're passionate about. What are you passionate about as far as your career is concerned? And why are you qualified for a specific job? You've got to sit down and think that out. How can you add value? And the hard part, once you get it all written down, is being able to speak about it. You need to speak to all of those topics and be comfortable. Part of your brand is your delivery. When you go onto a networking event online or you go onto an interview online and someone asks you a question, the way you answer, the confidence that you utilize is going to make them feel good or bad about you. How do you get confident? You practice. So these are the things you want to think about when you're pulling your brand together. What do you want to be known for? So the 3 key questions when you're looking at a job, you look at a job, you get all excited, and you see the different words that excite you. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I've done that. I've done that. You get all excited and you say, this is the perfect job for me. And then you send them the same old resume that doesn't say anything. And you never get a phone call because you need to change your resume every time you send it out. That's part of your brand. On every resume that you do, you need to change your resume to match the job ad. You need to show them what you can do for them, how you can do it, and how you have done it. And how do you do that in a way that's unique? That's something you want to be cognizant of as well. Well, how am I unique? Anybody can do ABC, but I do it with finesse. Okay, give an example of how, as a bullet on your resume. Speak to that in an interview. What is your brand? What makes you? What do you provide? And who do you provide it for? That's your brand. I'm Nancy Quinn. I'm a workshop facilitator of more than 15 years. I work with webinars and workshops in person. I deliver job search activity instruction to unemployed individuals seeking employment. That's my brand right now. Webinars, WebEx, delivery to unemployed individuals. That's the value I provide. I could be a little more creative about the way I provide it. And who do I provide it for? Unemployed individuals seeking employment. That's basically my brand. In a nutshell, you can embellish upon it, and I would for an interview. Someone says, tell me about yourself. They're really saying, what is your brand? You need to take it piece by piece. You need to embellish in an interview. On a resume, you need to keep it short. Networking, you're somewhere in the middle. But the same basic information is what you're sharing. That's what a brand is all about. So ask yourself these 3 key questions when you're trying to pull together what it is you believe in. Now, what's the value of a brand? Well, I'll be honest with you. It can make or break you. I've looked at other Nancy Quinns when I didn't use my city and I didn't use my work coordinate, and I've come up with some shady characters that were not me, by the way. So you got to be careful. So that's why on my resume and everything else, I use my middle initial. I figure if someone puts in my middle initial and the city that I'm from, they'll get my information. It's always something you want to be aware of. It's always something you want to understand and be cognizant of. People will Google you, period. They'll look for you. They'll have your resume, so they'll have some idea of your background to know if they have the right person, but they will Google you. The first thing that comes up is how old you are. The second thing that comes up almost every single time is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a key factor in your branding. We're going to get to that. So the value of a brand, it differentiates you from other people. This is what you're doing. You're sending someone a resume and you're taking all this time to make it unique for that job. And what you're saying to them is, here's why you should choose me, because I am so unique in this respect, and you tell them. You're pointing out to them what's different about you. You want to stand out from the crowd when you talk about your brand. Someone gets a stack of 100 resumes, but yours speaks to the job. Yours keeps talking about how you've done things that they need you to do. Yours is the one that delivers information about why you're unique. You highlight your skills on your resume. They're going to see the match. You want to focus on your accomplishments. Resumes used to be a list of what I used to do. Now your resume is utilized interpersonal skills to deliver hundreds of webinars to unemployed individuals seeking employment. That's what I do. It focuses on what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and you can get specific with examples. Does that make sense? So it's all about the cornerstones, the three things that are the key cornerstones to job search: networking, LinkedIn, and your resume. Your brand is a part of all of those. So your brand is a constant thread throughout your job search. You need to identify it by asking the questions we just looked at. You need to embellish upon it by going through these steps here and speaking directly to these points to make sure that the person on the other end understands why you are unique and why you can do the job. Now, something, if you've not seen this before, many of you may have, because Brendan does a really great workshop on CAR STAR statements. But if you've never heard of these before, I want you to make a note to yourself to look these up this afternoon and do some serious research. I'm going to touch on them now because they're very, very important. We touch on them in several workshops because they are so important, and we have specific workshops just about CAR statements and PAR statements and STAR statements. And altogether, they're called achievement statements. And this is how you formulate your brand. You have to sit down and think about what problems presented themselves in your last job, just to put together a statement. A would be, what action did you take to resolve that issue? What action did you take? R is for the result. Always remember to put in the result of your action. Here's my favorite CAR statement of mine. When I worked at BU in career services, our boss came to us and said, we're having a problem with our graduates in certain programs getting jobs. They don't have experience. They're having a hard time getting jobs. We need to do something about that. The action I took was I proposed that we develop an internship, and I did. I developed an internship for 65 individuals, which enabled them to get experience, which they put on their resumes, bringing up our placement rate to 82% that next quarter. That's my action statement. That's my achievement statement. That's my CAR statement. That's my STAR statement. What was the problem? Can anybody put that in the chat? Right. People weren't getting jobs. Exactly. Lack of job placement. Excellent. Thank you. What was my action? I created an internship. Exactly. Now, if I was going for a job and the job talked all about teamwork, 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 I would say we created an internship because they're looking for someone who works on a team. And it was a team effort. So, in discussing this in an interview or in a networking event, I would tell the whole story. On my resume, I would just take out the action and the result. Developed an internship for 65 individuals, increasing placement to 82%. So the A and the R go on your resume. You really need to sit down in a quiet place and develop 5 of these. And it may take you days to do it. You might put down an idea one day, the next day you embellish on it a little bit, the next day you change it up a little bit, the next day you practice saying it. Then you go back and you start another one, and you change it, and you update it, and you refine it. That STAR statement that I just said took me weeks to develop. It didn't just come flying out like that. I had to sit down and think about it. What were the key points? I had a story that could go on for 10 minutes. Nobody wants that. You especially don't want that. What you want is get to the point. So what was the quantifiable result of my actions? Anybody catch that? I know you did. Right, increase in placement, exactly, 82%. Now, I'm guesstimating, to be honest with you, and that's okay. It's understood that you'll guesstimate. Now, that was not my last job. That was a couple of jobs back. I don't have to say that. I don't have to refer to that. Nobody needs to know that. It's just an experience. It's a statement that I talked about something that I saw as a problem. I took action, and I talked about the result of the action. Something you want to make sure you remember is always remember the R. Always remember the results. People get excited about CAR statements and they start off with, here's the problem and here's what I did. I was great. Explain why you were great. What was the result? Did you save them time? Did you save them money? What did you do? What was the result of what you did? We all have these. We just never had to sit down and write them out before. The thing you need to be comfortable with is you need to be able to write them down, refine them, and then speak to them. Practice saying them out loud. Videotape yourself. Videotape, listen to me. Talk about ageism. Videotape. Wow. Record yourself and watch it to be sure that you complete this 3 parts to the PAR statement. Practice out loud with someone else. CAR statements, STAR statements, PAR statements are a big part of your job search. And you think, well, I can't remember what I did. I put this in here. Did you develop a procedure? Think about it. Did you develop a procedure manual? I had a gentleman when we were in person a couple of years ago say to me, I don't have any of these because I'm a chef. So I'm a chef, I don't have any. And I said, well, give me a minute. And I thought about it. And I said, well, what happens when something doesn't sell on the menu? He said, well, we replace it with something else. And why do you do that? To increase sales. So you analyze your product and change it when necessary to increase sales. Oh, yeah, that's what he said. He said, oh, yeah. Everybody has these different levels, different ways, different jobs, different industries. Think about it. Did you increase customer satisfaction by developing a better service system? And the important part, part B, can you talk about it? Practice with other people. Talk to your family, talk to your friends. Say, I need to practice my statements. Can you sit down and let me talk with you? I want to go through what I've done. Tell them what to expect and then practice with them. Have them ask you, tell me about yourself. Have them ask you a question like it's an interview. Practice out loud. Everything sounds brilliant in your head, and then when you say it, it comes out like Donald Duck in the interview, and you get all upset because you didn't practice. So take that time to practice out loud in a mirror. So think about it. Did you increase sales somehow? Did you save money? Did you increase productivity? Did you meet an impossible deadline through extra effort that was a benefit to your company? Did you conceive, design, or help launch a new product or a program? Did you assume new responsibilities that weren't part of your job? Have you completed any special projects? People say, well, yeah, I did all that. That was my job. Exactly. That's what you want to be talking about right now. What you've done in your job to make you valuable to the new employer. That's you. Knowing your brand is being able to speak to what you do well, and present specific examples. Those go on your resume as bullets. They can also go on your resume in a separate section called achievement statements. It's totally up to you. You can use both of those sections if you want to. But you need to have a handful of these handy in your head for an interview, for a networking event. Always important to be able to talk about your brand. What do you do? What do you do well? Who do you do it for? What makes you unique? This is what we're thinking about. Now, to prepare for a PAR statement, which is the same as a STAR statement, which is the same as a CAR statement, which is the same as an achievement statement, they're all the same. Basically, just to confuse you, we put 4 names on one topic. You need to determine what your passion, your goal is, and write it down. Write down a natural talent that you have, write it down. Think about 3 skills that you learned and write them down. Let's do this right now. Take a minute to write down a passion that you have as far as your job is concerned and write it down. What is your natural talent? Write that down. And then shake it up a little bit and write down 3 skills that you have learned that would make you successful. And all of that together can become a PAR statement. Does anybody want to put one in the chat and I'll read it? Give you a little feedback? If you feel like it and you're watching this live, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll give you a minute. Let me go look at the Q&A. Okay, I see the Q&A. We've got someone in there. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Someone said financial statement prep is what they like to do. Financial analysis is their natural talent. Excellent. Just write down what is the passion that you have for a job. Doesn't have to be any particular style. Just write down. Like with me, I love working with people. My passion. My natural talent is delivering webinars, I like to think. What have I done? I've learned WebEx, GoToMeeting, and Zoom. Someone said I could put leadership from volunteer work. Exactly. Teaching, we've got a couple of people said they love teaching. That's your natural talent, that's your passion. It could be the same thing. So speak to that. Speak to when you've been successful teaching. Put together a statement. that speaks to that. It could take you days to put one together. Just write it out. Keep playing with it till it becomes a story. Okay, we're going to look at something else too. State a problem that you solved. Someone said their passion is to save the earth, but they'd have to think about talent and skills a bit. These take time. Absolutely. You know, I'm saying, yeah, whip one of these up like it's no big deal. Personally, getting together my part statement took weeks to get it right down to the point where I felt comfortable and I could say it out loud without hesitation. So if you're sitting there going, I have no idea what you're talking about, lady, don't panic. I want you to start thinking about some actions that you took. Someone said, client advocacy is my passion. My talent is communication, persuading others as a teammate and a leader. Result, increasing satisfaction and driving engagement and revenue. Wow, you've done this before. Or you're really good at it from the beginning. That's great. You need to have a handful of these ready so that in an interview, someone says, give me a time when you did something out of the ordinary. Tell me about a time where you took charge of a situation. These are those questions that we're talking about. So if you need to start with the actions, write down 5 actions that you took in your last job that will relate to the new company you're going to. Make a list, take a piece of paper, write down 5 actions in the center of the piece of paper. In front of it, put how you did it. To the right of it, put what was the result. Problem, action, result. You need at least 3 of these. You should have 5 to 8 of these in your head to be really confident. So when someone asks you almost any question in an interview, you're going to have a problem, action, and result statement you can pull from. Like with me, if someone said, Nancy, when did you ever take charge of a situation? I could use my internship in a different manner. Not in the same interview, I wouldn't use it twice, but in a different interview I could. If someone said, Nancy, tell me about a time when you stepped outside the box. In a different interview, I could say my internship. We had a problem. The problem was that our graduates weren't getting jobs. I developed an internship for 65 people, enabling them to get placement in the long run. So you can use these for different reasons, different times, and different places in your job search. It's all about your brand. This is all a part of your brand. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's what makes you unique. That's what we're talking about. I put this in 3 times. Actually, I put it in twice. I should have put it in 3 times. I was trying to emphasize the fact that you need it 3 times. So again, I'll be sending out this presentation after I'm done. So you'll have these. Now, a value proposition is very similar. And you might want to work with these. I use my blank natural talents with my blank skills to add value in what? Can anybody fill that one in? I use my communication natural talents along with my WebEx skills to add value in webinars. You have to be confident. You have to believe it. You have to practice it. You got to say it out loud. You got to be able to speak to it. That's part of your brand, how well you represent yourself when asked for specific answers. All together, all of this is your brand. The way you represent yourself is how you display your brand will show how successful you will be. Confidence comes with practice. Now, how do I manage my brand? Well, you have to start with initial development. Everybody here has the beginning of a brand. You all have one. And depending on how long you've been working, it's been developed to a certain point. What I would say is look at your online brand. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Online is very critical to your brand. You have initial development of your brand by sitting down and writing things out, by working on your LinkedIn account, by looking for terms that are important in your industry. You get terms in your industry off of job ads. When you research companies, you'll notice the words that they use are the words that you should use in your resume for that company. These are the key words we're talking about that you need to be speaking to. You want to update LinkedIn all the time. You should be on LinkedIn at least 3 times a week. Every day, you really should look at LinkedIn for jobs. LinkedIn is a fantastic resource for jobs. We have LinkedIn workshops. I can't tell you when the next one is because we just had one. It'll be in early September, I think. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure. Not sure yet. Okay, so if you're not clear on LinkedIn, start watching some videos. Make sure the videos are current. LinkedIn is a big, big, big part of your brand. It is the first place people are going to look for you. If your LinkedIn account is 7 years old and you haven't looked at it in 7 years, people are going to think that's the kind of effort you put into your job. And that's not true. You just probably didn't think about it. So get to work on your LinkedIn. Bring it up to date. Get rid of old terms. Put in new terms. Where do you get those new terms? You get them off the job ads. You get them off the websites of the companies and the industry in general. Someone said that's not true because some people have had the same career for more than 7 years. But are you using today's words? 7 years ago, we had secretaries. Right now, we have administrative assistants. So what you need to do is go in and update old terminology that was good 7 years ago. Personally, I've been in my job for more than 7 years, but I go in every couple of months and update certain keywords in LinkedIn based on the way my industry is going. So you have to be careful with new terminology, current terminology. You want people to see you as somebody who knows what's going on now. And that's why you want to go in and you want to shape it up, shake it up a little bit. Put in some new terms, put in some new words. Things change. Politically correct terms have come in. Make sure you're in with what's current in your industry. And you get that by looking at job ads, and you get that by looking at different companies, websites, and LinkedIn sites that do what you do. So know what's happening. At least know about all these topics. If you can't use them, I'm not saying you got to run out and become an expert on all these, but what you want to do is know that things are happening on LinkedIn. Know how to use LinkedIn to your advantage. Know how to present yourself on LinkedIn. You have an about section where you're going to write a story that talks about you. Part of your story is going to be some of those statements we just talked about. So know about LinkedIn, know about the power of LinkedIn. Realize that you can look up people you're going to interview with on LinkedIn. You can go into LinkedIn in what I call stealth mode so that no one can see your name, and you can look people up and they won't know who you are. So there's something to do this afternoon. Figure out how to get into stealth mode in LinkedIn to look at somebody's account without being noticed. Know all about LinkedIn. Know that there are jobs on LinkedIn that aren't other places. Some companies only use LinkedIn because they only want people that are that savvy. Facebook, clean up your Facebook. It's part of your brand. Don't have anything on your Facebook account that you wouldn't say in an interview. Make sure your Facebook is neutral. Again, you may be a staunch supporter of someone or some team or something that you love, but that's not for someone to ask you in an interview, so don't put it on your Facebook account while you're looking. And I'm just talking about while you're looking. Look at your Facebook from a different point of view. If you were a hiring manager and you saw wild partying going on all over your Facebook, maybe they wouldn't hire you just to be concerned by that. Look at your Facebook as though you're a hiring manager. Know about Twitter, know about YouTube. I've talked about several topics this morning that you want to go research. Go on to YouTube. Watch some free videos. There's some fantastic videos on all kinds of job search topics. I'm going to give you some resources at the end, and some of them are videos. Be aware of Instagram, TikTok. Be aware of what the power of blogs and whatever is new. Keep up with what's going on social media. Is anybody getting job leads on Twitter? That's something that's happening right now. Companies are putting out their job leads on Twitter. Has anybody seen that? Someone said no. Okay, well, it's starting to happen. So get yourself familiar with Twitter, how to tweet. It's another resource for job leads. Okay. All right. Now, LinkedIn. Recruiters can use LinkedIn more and more to find great candidates. What they do is a keyword search. A recruiter looks at a job ad and pulls out 5 words that are vital in that job ad. And they go onto LinkedIn and they put in a zip code and they put in those 5 words and they pull up results, and people's names will come up and your accounts will come up based on whether or not you have those key terms in your LinkedIn account. That's how you get found on LinkedIn. If you're still using old terminology that's not current, they're not going to be looking for that. You won't get chosen. So that's why your LinkedIn account has to have new technology terminology and new skills, knowledge, and abilities that are current right now. So you need to be a match for keywords. Where do you get the keywords? On the job ads. Be sure your account has a lot of specific industry keywords. Get them from the ads, get them from their LinkedIn account, get them from their actual web page. Go onto the account of the company, find their website, look at the verbiage they use, and use the same. Delete old terms like secretary, DOS, and use new terms. Get endorsements from people, and especially get recommendations on LinkedIn. People can write you recommendations. If you're not sure how to do that, take a look. Do a little Googling. You want endorsements and you want recommendations on LinkedIn. So when someone looks on your LinkedIn account, they see that people believe in you. Something you want to remember, anytime you apply to any company, anytime, anywhere, through any means, if you apply to ABC Corporation, you go on LinkedIn, you bring up ABC Corporation's LinkedIn account and you hit the follow button and you follow them. They keep track of that. Don't ask me how. I call it computer magic. That's how technical I am. But a lot of them can keep track of who's following them and who's not. And they also send out information to followers that might include some information that might be vital in finding a job. So follow any company that you apply to on LinkedIn. I should have said follow them on LinkedIn. Any company you apply for anywhere. Join groups in your specialty area. If you're having Python programming as your main skill and you're up to date with what's current and you know what's coming next and you know how to utilize it, and there's a blog about it, start reading the blog. If there's a group talking about it, join in the group and participate. Get known on LinkedIn as someone who is a professional. That's how you do that. So join groups in your specialty area, but don't just join them. Actually work with them. Participate. This is all your brand. People are going to start seeing you as that professional that you are because you're engaged in answering blog questions. You're starting your own blog. All of these things, depending on your industry, can be very, very, very vital to your brand. Okay, you can build your own resume page. And again, this works for some people, doesn't work for others. Personally, I don't have one, but I'm not looking right now. What I want you to do this afternoon or tomorrow, take a look at this URL, read a little bit about it, and decide whether or not it's valid for you. That's really all you want to do. Is it valid for you? It can take as little as an hour to build this page, and it adds to your brand. You can use hyperlinks on your page to connect to your social media. There are online companies that you can pay that will help you build this. And this is a great article right here on how to build your own resume website. So take some time to look into that if you think it might be of interest to you. It might be of value to your brand. Okay, do we have any questions? Can you put them in the chat? Anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay, someone said it's very informative. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to know that it was useful. All right, that's great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over some resources that we have. You are welcome. Now, I've got a couple of pages of branding resources, and again, I give you these because they will back up what we've been talking about. They will also expand on a lot of the things that we talked about. So I want you to be really, really diligent about looking at these resources, especially the ones in red. The first one is jobhunt.org, which is a great free website that shows you all kinds of free job search information. In the end, they all try to sell you something. You just don't need to buy it. You can use LinkedIn for branding. Someone said my last job was not a good fit. What's the best way to acknowledge and answer that question without being too negative? Just like you did. My last job was not a good fit. My strengths are A, B, and C. And this is where I think you can utilize me. This is why I think this job that we're talking about now is exactly where I need to be. Address it briefly. It was not a good fit. Don't elaborate. Talk about your skills weren't a match there, but your skills are a match here. Take it right off the negative and onto the positive. I had that happen to me one time too. Between my two careers, I had a job that was a horrible job for me. And I had to be able to tell people why I wasn't there anymore. It wasn't a match because my skills in A, B, C, and D weren't valued there. Here's where I belong. My skills of A, B, C, and D are exactly what you're looking for. Turn it into something positive. Practice that. Practice saying that out loud. All of these things need practice. Practice, practice, practice. So here's a couple of different things. LinkedIn for branding, another job hunt article. An article on how to start this whole thing. Someone in the beginning said, I don't know which format to use. Check out this article in The Muse. The Muse is another job search website that's fantastic. You need something called an elevator pitch. We have a separate workshop called Elevator Pitches. Take a look at this particular article on how to put together your own elevator pitch. Basically, my story is my elevator pitch. All these terms are interchangeable. My elevator pitch could be my internship story. My elevator pitch could be when I talked about myself being a webinar and workshop presenter. You need to talk about your elevator pitch, so take a look at these resources. This is a great resource. Here's some more. 6 essential new job search procedures from Job Hunt. Second one, how to gather your personal plan details. How to make a job hunting plan. from the beginning. And the last one here is how to put together accomplishment statements. We talked about that briefly. We have a separate workshop. It will be coming up in September because we just had it. Or it's actually tomorrow, so it's closed. It's already been closed off, so I'm sorry about that. But it'll be back in a couple of weeks. Okay, now here's some resources. Again, building your brand, using LinkedIn and putting your brand summary on LinkedIn. There's a lot of things you need to do on LinkedIn for your brand because LinkedIn is the first place people are going to look for you. Google might be before that, but Google's going to bring up LinkedIn. It's almost always the first thing it brings up about you. So be aware. That's where people are getting their image of you. Their image of you is your brand. You control your brand. You work these particular topics that we've been talking about to your advantage to make your brand strong and positive and professional. Okay, so here's where you can find all of our webinars. All the different webinars that we have are on this link right here. We also have a YouTube channel, so I want you to take a look at the YouTube channel. I thank you very much for coming, everybody. I really appreciate you being here at Branding. Celebrate yourself.